Boy James with Love My Pups, My British Supply. Coming down the list. So now we're going to be talking about puppy health. Well, let's just back up here a second so we don't double up on stuff. Puppy care. So when we talked about puppy care, we talked about checking puppies for cleft palates, problems with an aspirated milk, puppies that have got colds, puppies that were losing weight, fading puppy syndromes, oxygen machines and incubators. So I'm not going to touch on that on this thing. So this is going to be more about things that you're going to do with things like parasites, problems with maybe heart murmurs, those kind of things. So let's start with routine. Let's start here. Let's start with routine things that you're going to do. So you need to be doing wormings and you need to be doing puppy shots. So people vary a little bit on this, but basically you want to worm every 2 weeks, starting when they're 2 weeks old. You can worm mum, by the way, with Safeguard, which you're not going to use on a puppy until they're 6 weeks, but you can use Safeguard or fendobendazole on mum right away. Once the puppies are born, even a week beforehand, you can start treating mum with fendobendazole because they can get worms through mum's milk. So, 2 and 4 weeks, we're going to use Nemex2, which is the same thing as parental palmitate, a lot less expensive version of it. Then at 6 weeks and onwards, you're going to use Safeguard. Nemex2, parental palmitate, you're going to do 1 day, which is for 1 day. The Safeguard you do for 3 consecutive days. And go check the dosages because I'll get it wrong, but I think it's 1 cc for every 5 pounds of body weight. But before you believe that, Google it. Make sure you get it right. Want to do that. Safeguard doesn't get rid of all parasites. So the next one that you're going to see is quite common is 2 things, coccidia and giardia. Let's put this one here, giardia. Giardia, very common things to get, especially if you've had a lot of puppies around your place, then it's very common to have to do this. So we pre-treat this with actually a product designed for horses, and I'm going to spell it wrong, Tarolzazil, I think it's going to be close to that. You can pre-treat that starting when they're 2 weeks old, but if you see signs of coccidia, then it's typically a mucousy, blood-tinged diarrhea. If you want to be sure that's what it is, go to your vet and have a fecal flotation done. What they do is they take some poop, they put it in a solution that's made out of, it makes the weight a little bit more. You use Epsom salts. You can do this even yourself if you've got a microscope. You take Epsom salts, you dissolve that in warm water. You take some poop, you put it on you mix some poop up in that, and you take a slide and you put the slide on the very top of that mixture. So it's like this. And what happens is, because you've added the Epsom salts, the bugs, the parasites float to the top and they stick on the microscope slide, and then you look under the microscope slide for the parasites. So how do you treat coccidia? Albon. And you do Albon, I think, for 3 days straight. Another common one is giardia, and I've got individual videos on these, so you can go look at those if you want to. But giardia, same thing again, you do a flotation, or really a better way of doing that is we sell test kits, giardia test kits. They're very easy to administer. You don't have to draw blood. All you do is take some poop, put it in the little container it comes with the test kit, and then take a little pipette that comes with the test kit, put a couple of drops into the window of the test kit, and 5 minutes later, if you get 2 lines, you've got giardia. Very, very easy way to do it. If not, vet fecal float test. Metronidazole is the treatment for this. Metronidazole. It is an antibiotic. You're going to do that for like 8 days. They say it's a little bit rough on tummy stomach, so I don't give that unless I've got a positive giardia test. And by the way, you can go get Fishzole that's for aquariums, which is the same thing. So you can do this yourself if you want to with Fishzole. All right, so those are common bugs. Fleas, how do you cope with fleas? Well, You can use Adam's flea and tick spray, which is a spray. You can put that on mum. You're not supposed to use that on puppies until they're 6 weeks old. So for fleas, I think the medicine for that is Dronsit. I think that's the medicine for that. But you certainly can also use Adam's flea and tick as a topical spray. Adam's flea and tick. Comes in a blue bottle. Okay, so those are common bugs. Okay, what can we do for a dog that's got a puppy that's got some diarrhea? Well, first off, make sure it's not one of these things. These things typically don't show up until the puppies are, a week or two old before you could have problems with these. But in the interim, if you've got a dog that's got a loose stool, then something really easy to administer is canned pumpkin. So just go get a can of pumpkin from Wally World, put some out your finger and put it in its mouth. And what it basically is a bulk agent. It helps thicken up a loose stool. Very, very safe. You can't get into any trouble doing that. So that's a very safe thing to try if you've got a loose stool. If you've got a dog that's got some diarrhea, so this is for diarrhea. Diarrhea, how do you spell that? Okay, now the next one's going to be constipation. What happens if a dog is constipated? And I see this quite a bit, especially if you're feeding goat's milk. You can get a dog that gets a bit dehydrated, and that can cause constipation. So the solution for that is an enema, and of course I don't have a syringe here. But what you do is take yourself some warm water, put it in a cup, take a couple of drops of Dawn dishwashing soap, or any dishwashing soap, so it makes it slightly sudsy. Suck that up in a syringe, and then just basically take that syringe, put it on the puppy's butt, and just gently push it back up in there and give them an enema. And you can do that 2 or 3 times a day until you get things going. Easy, easy, easy peasy. Okay, what's next on our list? Wormings and parasites we've talked about now. Shots. So shots need to be done at, and different vets will have different ideas about what the timing is, but we give shots at 6, 9, and 12 weeks. That's when we give shots. And we give a 5-in-1 shot, and you can do that yourself, and I've got videos on that. You can go to the doc and have them do it. But whatever you do, if you do it 6, 9, and 12, do it religiously every 3 weeks. Don't let it go 4 weeks or 2 weeks. Do it religiously. The situation here is to give a shot before 6 weeks is not beneficial because the dog has already got some built-in immune system that it got from its mother's colostrum. And so giving a shot before that is actually not beneficial. So it starts to back off at about 6 weeks, and then you've got to have enough time between this. If you do shots too far apart or too close together, they're not effective. Exactly what the mechanism there is, I'm not exactly sure, but you do want to do this properly. Remember, if you get shots and you're going to bring them home because you bought them at Tractor Supply or at the vet, you need to have some ice. They need to be put on ice. Go into the refrigerator. Don't leave them out for any length of time to get warm because that does them in. There are different kinds of shots. The shots that have things like distemper and parvo are important. Then they've got things like kennel cough and other things that you can get. But we just use a basic 5-in-1 shot. There's shots for you. Okay. Let's talk about skeletal problems. Skeletons. What can you do? What can you do if you've got problems with, let's start with floppy ears. So when your puppies get older, Frenchies in particular, they have these big ears when they get to be 5, 6, 7 weeks old. Their bigger ears are really starting to want to stand up and they can flop down. So what you can do is you can tape their ear up. You bring the two margins of their ear together and put some tape around it, and that will make the ear stand up. And you continue to put that tape on until their ears stand up by themselves. And typically if you catch that early, 4 or 5 weeks when their ears might be flopping down, you will get that corrected probably within a few days to a week. Got videos on that. What can you do with puppies that have developed a flat chest? Those puppies typically, if you have a litter of some big puppies in there, maybe there's lots of milk from mum, especially if you've got smaller litters with some big puppies, they tend to get lazy. They want to nurse all the time and they don't get up on their legs and they start walrusing around. They're just kind of swimming. So what you do is you tape their back legs together, and that gets them where they can't move without getting up on their back, getting their butt up off the ground and getting their legs underneath them, and that stops this flat chest. So I do see this in fatter puppies. You need to get started with it fairly early, and I've never had a flat chest it didn't fix. Pigeon chest, a chest that's sticking out too much. How do you fix that one? Or a chest that is sunken in, not flat but sunken in. How do you fix those? Well, I've never done this, but I think that the answer to this is you want to put a tube around the puppy. Maybe as simple as something like a toilet roll that you can cut up the middle, put around them, put some Velcro around it, and it puts pressure on the sides of their chest to try to bring that caved chest in. Or you can do the reverse of that, put it the other way around with the opening in the back if they've got a very pointed chest. Got to get those things done early, 3 weeks and onwards, because that's when their bones are nice and soft and you can actually form them a little bit by having some kind of a splint. Puppies that are born with their legs bent in or their back legs splayed out, maybe even all the way backwards or all the way forwards like this, you can make yourself a splint and correct those problems by taping them to something that pulls their legs in. I've got videos on it. It's typically back legs, and I'm not going to refer to this here, but refer to that video and you can fix that problem too. Okay, checkups. When do you have checkups? Well, anytime that you've got a dog that's in trouble that you can't diagnose, it's time for a checkup. Go to your vet. Any dogs that are going to travel somewhere, those dogs should go to the vet to have a health check, you know, a few days to maybe a week before they're going to leave their new homes. The dog needs to be checked for palate, because you should have already done that when they're born. Eyes, nose, look in their ears to make sure they're clean, make sure their hips look good, their knees are straight, and listen to their heart. And that's something, by the way, that you can do with the puppy care kit. Listen to their heart and making a comparison between the noises you hear from the various puppies. If you've got a puppy that has a nice click, 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 that's a good heart. If you have a puppy that sounds like a washing machine, that's a dog that has a heart murmur, and depending on how bad the heart murmur is, it may go away if it's a level 1 or 2. If it's like a 3, probably can live with it. If it's a 4, 5, or a 6, that dog may need medication. You don't want to send a dog to somebody with a heart murmur. You want to find out about that ahead of time. While we're talking about ears, you can have dogs that have a head tilt, and that can be caused by, it could be neurological, and it can also be as simple as bugs, parasites in their ears. That could either be typically a yeast infection or ear mites. And when you get a puppy care kit, it comes with an otoscope. So this is a little battery operated thing that you can stick in the ear with a magnifying glass on the end of it, and you can look right down the ear canal and you can see what's bugging them. You should be cleaning your puppy's ears out with cotton tips on a regular basis anyway to get your dirt out, and that'll help prevent this problem. And there are medications that you use depending on whether it's ear mites or whether it's a yeast infection. So you'll have to go get those, I think, from your vet. I don't think you're going to find those over the counter. Let's see how far we're going on with this now. 40 minutes, we're getting on quite a long ways. Okay, what else have we got here? Certainly when you go have health checks done, be prepared to ask questions so you can make sure that your vet is checking all the things that you want them to check. You know, make sure that their palate looks good, make sure that the stool's good, make sure that skeletally they look good, make sure that the ears are clean. You know, just you want to have a proper checkup. You want to find a problem. You don't want to just get a checkup that says this dog's fine. You want to make sure that this dog really is fine and then fix any problems that might be occurring or come up. I think that's about it. I'm trying to think that there's more I should be telling you about. Well, let's talk a little bit about food. So obviously we're not going to get onto any softer or hard food until they start to develop teeth. The development of puppies is going to be eyes open around 10 days old. Let's talk about that for a second. So you can have a puppy that has a really swollen eye, its eyes closed, and what's happened is it's got a conjunctivitis, it's got some infection going on behind the eyelid which is closed. When you see those situations, it always looks horrible, but I've never had one that didn't resolve itself with the eye being perfectly fine when the eye opened up. So in those situations, you can give Clavamox or amoxicillin, And if it's close to the point where you're at that 10-day mark, you might find a little corner of the eye starting to opening up. Go get yourself a warm washcloth and get it wet and see if you can't just gently tease it open, because once you do, all that muck comes out and the eye looks so much better, so much quicker. Bumps on the head, acne, like little white spots. That's typically conjunctive. That is typically folliculitis, which basically is a bacterial infection of the hair root. Makes for a little bump, then the hair falls out, and you get little bald patches over the dog, typically on the forehead first. What do you do for that one? Medicated shampoo. Shampoo that dog every day, medicated shampoo, see if that'll fix the problem. If it doesn't, it's time to get some antibiotics on board. Especially if you see bumps all over their body, that is a staph infection and that does need antibiotics. You're probably not going to fix that with a medicated shampoo. Okay, see, I'm thinking of more things when I picked a piece of paper up. Yeah, we're going to talk about food. All right, so puppies, mum's milk, or you're feeding goat's milk with a bottle or a feeding tube until they get to the point where they got little teeth is showing up. That's the point you can get them on mousse, soft food. We use, this is going to be food, we transition to, and this is not the only product out here, but we use Royal Canine puppy mousse. Comes in a tin. Puppy mousse. I don't know how you spell mousse. I think it's like that. Royal Canin puppy mousse. So we take that, we put it into a pie dish or a bundt pan. You can buy special containers. You can buy a food bowl. The best ones are a food bowl with cross-sectional area. Looks like this with a center section. And what that does is the food sits here and it stops the puppies going all the way across in the bowl and just getting their feet in it. So the puppies now feed all the way around it. That's the best one to get. You can start that, if you've got a mum where your milk situation is tough, you're having to hand raise puppies, you want to get them on this as quick as you can, and maybe start that at 3 weeks, certainly by 4 weeks. What we do is we'll take the puppy mousse, maybe put a little bit of a goat's milk with it, thin it out a little bit, and let them see if they'll start lapping that up. And the moment they go to that, you will find puppies that have been a bit weak will really do very well the moment you start doing that. You can then transition to kibble, but what we do is we wet the kibble down for about 30 minutes before we give it to them. We smush it up with a fork and then get them onto that. And then by the time they're 6 weeks old, you should have them on dry. 6 to 7 weeks old, they should be on dry kibble. Okay, weaning. When are you going to start weaning your puppies? Well, some mums will stay with their puppies until they leave. Some mums have had enough of it by the time they're 4 weeks. So you can judge how that's going. The way that mum's treating her puppies, if she's treating her puppies okay, leave the puppies together. If you want to wean the puppies, then take mum away during the daytime and put mum with the babies at night. And then slowly reduce that where mum doesn't get go with the puppies until midnight and 7 o'clock in the morning she's taken away. And then eventually she doesn't get puppies at all. When you're doing that, make sure that mum doesn't blow up, that she gets drained enough so that she can dry up properly. When we start this whole process, make sure that you are cutting the nails on your puppies. So with the puppy care kit, of course, you get, amongst other things, little nail clippers. So you want to keep their nails short because otherwise they scratch mum's teeth. Putting some lanolin, hand cream or Vaseline on mum's teeth will help that because mum may not want to nurse puppies anymore if she starts getting scratched up. You should cut their nails anyway. You don't want nails that are curving down. And it can be a little bit difficult on nails that are dark to know exactly where the quick is, but you'll figure it out. If you cut one a bit short, the puppy won't like you. It'll bleed a little bit, but it'll get over it. It'll be okay. When should you be removing dew claws and tails? So if you're going to do this, it needs to be done certainly by day 5. I've got videos on how to remove dew claws, especially if you want to send those off to do DNA testing. I don't have videos on tails because we don't do this on Frenchies, but you can remove tails yourself. And basically the process of doing that is, let's give ourselves a little bit of room over here, is basically what you do. Well, you know what, I don't think I want to get into this too deep. The answer is, you can probably find videos of this, but basically what you do is you take some decent sized forceps, bigger than this, you clamp the tail off at the point where you want to remove the tail, and you can simply just twist off the piece of tail that you don't want, then you put a stitch in it, and then you remove the clamp. But there's certain breeds like Dobermans where you do ears and tails. I've never done this, so I certainly don't want to act like I'm an expert on it. Find out other videos on that. So other problems, well, other really disastrous problems are things like parvo. So remember that your dogs do need to be quarantined from other dogs until they've had their full sets of shots, which basically doesn't happen until they're about 16 weeks old. So be very conscious about other dogs that you may have handled or other people may have been playing with, and then come and handle your puppies. Puppies are not immune to parvo after their first shot. They can still get parvo, and if you get parvo, it's a horrible situation. I've got videos specifically on how to deal with parvo, and we'll worry with that if you get it. Other things that are kind of, we haven't talked much about is plasma. I always keep some frozen plasma in the fridge. If I've got newborn puppies that are struggling, for the first 36 hours, you can give them plasma in their mouth. I don't know how effective it is, but it's certainly not dangerous. After 36 hours, you have to inject plasma in their neck or give it to them intravenously. So plasma can help puppies that are in trouble. Puppies that are in trouble, of course, the one thing that you absolutely should have is you should have an incubator, because if puppies are having problems, an incubator and an oxygen concentrator are absolute lifesavers. Oh, it's a long video. I think anything I haven't covered here, I'll remember it. We'll add it to weaning when we get to that. But I think that's it for puppy health. So there you go. There's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of time wasted. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.